So we are going to walk through some things, hopefully give you a complete overview. Okay, I see that you've raised your hand. Um, feel, feel free to come off mute if you want, Amanda, or if you didn't mean to do that, you don't have to. Okay. So if you are unfamiliar with me, I'm Stacy Toth. I am a top leader with Shockley, but I have been in the health and wellness world for over 15 years as a professional researcher. I am a best-selling author, podcaster, and I had a professional career as a regulatory expert. What I am not is a medical professional. So I encourage you to work with one on your specific needs, whether that's a doctor or a registered dietitian. This is educational, and I want to empower you with information, not give you medical advice. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the mixed messaging that we get about protein. So, you can see in some of the headlines, it's like, you need more protein, or worst case scenario. Um, or you might see that a high protein diet could be increasing your risk of health problems. Here's the thing is water is essential for you, and too much of it can kill you. And where I think we often want to just like lean in to do all the things in one way or another, really what I'm hoping to share with you is that our bodies need a balance. And so, yes, we need protein. Yes, you can have too little. Yes, you can have too much. And there is some sweet spots dependent on what your needs are that we can kind of go over. Also, did you know that the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for 2024 was awarded to a group of men who were doing work on protein? So clearly, there's lots going on in the scientific community. What I think a lot of people think protein does is build muscle. That unless you're a bodybuilder, unless you're trying to get jacked and hit performance peaks in the goal in the gym, that you don't need a ton of protein. But actually, what protein does is support a lot of different functions in our body. And it's why we're going to talk about skeletal muscle as being the largest organ in your body, because it is how like glucose is delivered. It is a range of a lot of different things, including hormonal health, immune health. Your skin and hair is obviously made of keratin, which is a protein, right? It's very energizing. There's a lot of different things that it does in the body. It transports nutrients. So a lack of protein would mean no matter how much nutrients you're getting, it might not be being delivered to your body properly if you don't have muscle to do that. Okay, yay. Thank you for going live in the chat. Cindy's blowing it up. Thank you for keeping me engaged. Okay. So, one of the things to consider about protein is that it is the only macronutrient that you need to survive, because there are essential amino acids, 9 of them, which your body cannot create on its own. Your body can survive without carbohydrates. Your body can survive without fat. Your body cannot survive without those 9 essential amino acids. So protein is necessary. Fortunately, we get it in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about those. But just to remember that it's doing a lot more in your body than just doing muscles, and it is needed. One of the things that is really cool about the Shockley conference this year was that Dr. Gabrielle Lyons, who was Lyon, was actually on my podcast, The Whole View, last year, spoke as a keynote speaker. And the reason that she did that, her work is specifically centered in protein, because she worked in geriatric medical facilities. And what she learned watching the elderly is that the biggest factor for their long-term health, not just in what she was observing, but in all of the studies and clinical work she was doing, was dependent on their skeletal muscle. And the more muscle mass we have as we age, the more survivability we have against diseases. And you can obviously think about this from the perspective of if someone fell, right? Like, would they have the ability to have enough muscle to go through the recovery process the way that you could when your body was younger? Or if someone got pneumonia, do they have enough muscle for their body to reuse some of that protein and nutrients that are stored there in order for them to have a more positive outcome? Our skeletal muscle is a driver for our long-term health. Clinically proven, that's not up for debate. What's up for debate is how we maximize our skeletal muscle to improve our health over time. And so there are, a multitude of studies and information out there, but one of the ones that I want you to consider is that after after we're out of our 20s, which arguably is kind of childhood, right? Like I think the frontal lobe of a male's brain development doesn't stop until 26, right? So really in our 30s, our hormones start to shift, and instead of kind of growing to where our bodies are expected to create life, our bodies are starting to be on the decline. And from that, our hormones are in the decline, our muscle loss is increased, and we start to kind of decline in health, decline in muscle, unless we do something about it. And especially that's exacerbated after the age of 65 and 70. If you haven't seen it already, there was a study done, I think, last year that talked about bursts of aging. And at 44 average, and I believe it was 65 average, there are two bursts of aging that happen in your body. Think about it from like a menopause perspective that cause a lot of change in the body. And that is the driver of kind of these booms that we see from the decline of our health, unfortunately. So we fortunately do have control over muscle synthesis in two ways. One, we can exercise, specifically resistance training of some kind to build muscle. And two, consuming well-timed protein-rich meals. There's so much conflicting information about how to define those. Let's look at some of them. So there's lots of different types of protein. And I want to just say, as I use the word protein, that's a hugely generic word for how many amino acids are within them. When you isolate a certain amino acid, whether it's an animal source or a plant source, like when you're looking at studies, it's a lot more complicated than just, is it protein or not? For most of us in our everyday life, we really want to be thinking about how to get 100 grams of protein looks like. And as you can see, something like, peanut butter and edamame, even avocado, which I love to add to my smoothies, all have protein, as does, beef and yogurt, a top source of protein, and our bodies love it, by the way, high in omega-3s as well. So I always try to add more seafood to my diet, especially at lunch, because my kids don't love it for dinner, but okay, so I mentioned 100 grams of protein a day. This is where that comes from. So there is a recommended daily allowance, and our RDAs are driven from essentially what keeps us from a decline, not what will help us thrive. So if you're thinking about it from the perspective of like vitamin C, if you were feeling a little bit sick, if you knew that your immune system was going to be compromised, if you were going to be traveling, if you were going to do whatever, you would boost your vitamin C. And you would boost that vitamin C pretty significantly through that period of time where it was no longer needed. And a lot of times, if you have a vitamin D deficiency, what does a doctor do? A doctor gives you a prescription for a short-term amount of vitamin D that's really high to get your numbers up to normal. And then they will give you a vitamin D supplement to maintain those levels throughout. As you're looking at protein, and we know that we start to degrade our muscle mass over time, we want to be thinking about actually increasing our protein. Like our children, when we're younger, we can get away with a lot more. Our metabolism, our hormones, everything is very different. our bodies need, if we want to maintain that muscle mass, more protein as we age. So instead of looking at, I think it's like 0.37, which is like the RDA value of protein, we actually want to think more about a 0.75, about double that to what would be our daily goal. And we know that based on studies and information that somewhere between like 85 and 112, which is where I come up with the 100-gram recommendation because it doesn't have to be exact every day. Somewhere between 85 and 112 is where we see associated health improvements from bone density to muscle mass and hormone health. So lots of goodness come from that perspective. I do want to address that it is true. Oh no. Can you hear me now? I feel like the Verizon guy. Well, I have four teenagers and they're all home, probably online, streaming videos and playing games. Okay, cool. So too much animal protein. And did I start the recording? I did, right? Can you guys see that it's recording? Okay, yeah, it's recording. You can tell I'm a hot mess, but I do know this content. Excited about that. It is true that too much animal protein can harm your health, specifically your kidneys, and also your liver, because your organs have to process all that stuff. And if it's too much, it actually has to process excreting it, right? So there is what we will call a safe range of dietary protein, depending on you, your body, your activity, your age, all those things we mentioned. That is going to be around 50 to 225. Again, you're seeing that 100 is within that range. And that if you are not getting enough protein, your body will start to kind of break down and eat itself, which we know, not just from fat, but from muscle, which is why a lot of diets, there's a new study that actually just came out showing that's actually more harmful to kind of diet and then regain the weight and diet and regain the weight, because what you're actually losing when you're dieting for most people is muscle loss. And then when you're gaining the weight back, you're not gaining muscle. And so each time you cycle through that weight loss cycle of diet, you're actually losing muscle mass, which is harming your health long term more than just if you would have maintained that weight to begin with. Now, it doesn't mean that if you have a goal of weight loss, that isn't something you can achieve. It just means that we need to be careful to make sure that we're monitoring our protein and that we're doing weight-bearing activities and those kinds of things to help maintain it over time as we're in that process. So a couple of Q&As I was doing on social that I just wanted to kind of put here for this information. Again, I mentioned that too much protein can cause kidney stones, but it's not actually this definition of artificial protein that someone was asking about, or even plant or whey protein, which I think is what the person was referring to, like a protein supplement that causes those kidney stones. It's actually animal protein specifically, and the way that it breaks down in our bodies. The great thing about animal protein is that it comes in a completely synergistic form with vitamins and minerals that our body knows how to use fully and completely in harmony with one another, because our bodies were evolved to eat animal protein. I was a vegetarian for 7 years. I get that not everybody does. So there are supplements beyond animal protein. You can actually get like beef isolate protein. But if you're eating a lot of animal protein and then you're also doing beef isolate protein, you could be potentially harming your health, your liver and kidneys, as I mentioned. So one of the things that I personally do, and I think a lot of medical professionals would recommend, is supplementing with plant and whey protein to offset the animal protein that you're eating to hit that 112, and to really reduce any risk. Just to be clear though, even if you already have kidney disease, the dietary recommendation is at or below 16% of a 2,000 calorie diet, which is 80 grams of protein a day. So it's not like just because your kidneys might be compromised in some sort of way that you're avoiding protein entirely. Again, our bodies need these things, but in balance. So it's really bio-individual as to what we need. And because most US adults are averaging somewhere between 40 and 60 grams of protein, knowing that we need to get about double that in, the 85 to 112 range means that we need to consume more. And so, again, if you are concerned about kidney or liver organ health in general, a whey protein or a plant protein added into your diet is great. We're going to talk a little bit about the concerns or risks that might be associated with those separately. But I wanted just to show you here that there's kind of like a bliss spot of satiety, and you might feel full at that spot, but you'll see that like the safety zone, the satiety zone, is much broader than that, up to like 40%. And so if you're wanting to improve your health, if you're wanting to improve muscle mass, getting beyond just what feels immediately satiating, which is probably around that 60 grams a day, up to doubling that, you're going to need to change how it feels in your body. And I will say personally, as someone who's a vegetarian, you can feel that change initially. It feels a little bit uncomfortable, but quickly you'll feel improved energy and you'll no longer feel like overly full if you're learning how to balance the other things in your life. And that's one of the reasons I really love Shockley's Life Shake, is because it's already balanced with fiber and those kinds of things. We'll talk about that shortly. One of the tips that I really want to give you specifically as it relates to hormone health, because we're talking about this, is that a lot of people are starting their day with caffeine before they're starting with protein. And if you are someone, and I was, who drank coffee with cream and collagen in your coffee, that is not a sufficient breakfast, even with collagen added. Our bodies need to be told that the fasting cycle is over, that our circadian rhythm is changing its cycle, that our metabolism can be turned on. And when we do those things, we are activating the systems in our bodies to do so many positive things for our hormone health. I had adrenal fatigue and high cortisol for as long as I've been testing, over a decade, until I stopped doing coffee in the morning and started doing a smoothie. And I have heard so many things from so many people, and it's because the cortisol response in your body is activated with coffee. It kind of like changes how your body is processing cortisol versus telling it, "Hey, I'm awake and I'm ready for energy." And that's what food is. Food is fuel and energy for our body, and so we want to make sure that we're telling it that in the morning within an hour of waking up. If you like to fast, the science and the research shows that doing so at night will help regulate your hormones, especially if you are a woman in pre, peri, or postmenopausal. Again, our bodies are a lot more forgiving in our 20s. Okay, if you are looking for muscle health specifically, we're going to be aiming for 30 to 35 grams of protein at each meal, plus a snack of 10 to 20 grams. And if you're doing the math, that's going to put you at about 112, which was on the higher range of the numbers that I gave you. And what that's allowing us to do is spread that out over during the days to keep those amino acids available in our body and ready to use for energy, versus like having one giant meal where we're giving it all the things and then it can't really utilize it properly. If you are trying to figure out like how to time the biggest protein hit of the day, do it right after your daily workout. So for me, I personally have my smoothie in the morning, and then around like 10:30, I go to the gym, and then I come home and I have a meal. I do the same thing. I love to do pottery, and pottery is a physical labor. I'm sweating. I do all the things. I have a smoothie and electrolytes while I'm there, and then when I come home, I have a big nourishing meal. I think that it's also natural if you think about what your body is telling you. It does not want a giant meal before you work out. That's why they say don't eat a meal before you go swimming, right? Like your body is not in flight or fight. My cat is going crazy. I don't know if you can hear her. Um, you've seen that like when the zebras are being chased by the lions, what does it do? It lets everything out because it can run faster and it can have better performance getting away from the lion if its body is empty. So your body probably doesn't want a big meal before you work out, but fueling it in some sort of way will help regulate your hormones. So it's the balance. Yes, the old days of bulletproof coffee. Listen, we need fiber. Okay, we're going to talk about that too. All right, so what are some of the Shockley protein options? I personally am not taking creatine either. I was going to do a whole thing about creatine, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to open that can of worms now. I can always follow up if people are curious. Um, there's just some information about hair loss that's a little concerning for me. But I do want to make sure that my body is getting enough creatine and other amino acids from the essentials and non-essentials through sufficient protein consumption, like a general protein consumption. And collagen usually is missing one of those 9 essential amino acids, tryptophan. But our collagen 9 has all 9 of those essential amino acids. So it's a great one for making sure you have everything you need. Shockley also recently introduced the Modere liquid biocell collagen. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then they also have 2 other forms of protein. They have whey protein. The one I'm going to talk about is the Build whey protein, which is specifically for muscle building. They also have a couple of like children's options that are great if you have especially younger kids who don't really like protein and aren't getting enough in. They basically have like a product that's like Nesquik with I think it's like 10 grams of protein. It's awesome. And then they have Life Shake plant protein, which is my absolute favorite and what I have every day with collagen 9. So let's look at some of the differences between them. And of course, there are other brands of collagen, of whey protein, of plant protein. These are the ones that I'm choosing to use, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why. So if we're looking at the difference between the 2 collagen options, collagen 9 and the liquid biocell, as you can see, the form factor is different. Liquid biocell is a liquid, and once it's opened, it needs to be refrigerated. The powder is super convenient for travel. It's also, not super great for like blending in. You could take a shot of the liquid biocell. The life that I have is totally palatable just to take as a shot. I personally wouldn't take it as a shot, however, because it doesn't have all 9 amino acids. So if you were going to consume it that way, make sure that you're consuming it with a meal that has other protein included so that it can be fully synthesized, because your body cannot utilize partial proteins effectively. Then it's pulling from other things in your muscle, right? Like you have to give it all of it together, which is why the collagen 9 is really effective and great, and why I'm testing the liquid biocell right now. I'm adding it to my shake to make sure that I'm getting the full amount. The reason that I'm doing both is because they have different types of collagen. So type 1 and 3 are what's in collagen 9, the powder. And types 1 and 3 address specifically like skin, hair, and there's joint benefits in all types of collagens. Type 2 is especially beneficial for joints and the cushioning in your joints. Um, the difference between the types, so we've got collagen 9 is grass-fed, pasture-raised bovine collagen, and the biocell is chicken sternal cartilage. The difference with that is that there is no blood flow through the chicken sternal cartilage or lymphatic flow. So there's no risk of contamination of things that the chicken might be eating going into that. The Modere liquid biocell does not have the full kind of safety testing that is normal for Shockley's products. They do an incredible job with that. We'll talk shortly, because it was a product that was purchased beforehand. Future iterations of this biocell will have the same standards, but I'm not actually concerned about that because of the way that they are creating this particular product, and the type of cartilage that it is would not have the ability to kind of absorb some of those concerning contaminants. And then we're talking about the collagen amount. Obviously, the biocell is like a low amount of the actual collagen. It's functioning in a different sort of way. It has a hyaluronic acid matrix. So it's delivering not just collagen, but hyaluronic acid, and then some additional things like the resveratrol, resveratrol is the one that I use, which is a very like anti-aging beneficial type product. There's also other ones that have additional ingredients like ceramides and biotin. And then the additional support that's in collagen 9 is vitamin C and that biotin, which is a B vitamin, which help it be more effectively utilized. If you were going to choose one, I would tell you collagen 9 because it can be consumed on its own. It's more easy to transport and it has the vitamin C and biotin in it that make it more bioavailable. And it has the Shockley testing standards. But if you are looking for additional joint support, the liquid biocell is going to be what I would recommend in addition to the collagen 9 for next level. So if you have potential arthritis in your family, if you have joint pain, if you have kind of joint injury, if you have those kinds of things, this could potentially be really great for you. As you can see, I listed out the different kinds of types of collagen and the benefit that they have. This is all from the Arthritis Foundation, and why types 1, 2, and 3 work really well together, which would be both the collagen 9 and the Life Shake. So that's what I'm personally choosing to do and test right now. Oh, and if you wanted to try it, Shockley is currently doing a BOGO offer as well. Always fun. Love me a deal. Okay, I mentioned that one of the things that can be concerning is testing standards and how amazing Shockley's safety testing standards are. The one concern that I would raise with either a chocolate protein powder of any kind, because chocolate is a plant, or a plant protein of any kind, is that it likely is going to have a Prop 65 warning on it, which is telling you that there are increased levels of heavy metals in the product. And oftentimes we find that whether it be lead or cadmium or other kinds of things, if you are consuming a higher amount of this food, like if you're doing a daily shake of something to improve your health, you don't want to be increasing your heavy metal load while doing that. The reason that plant protein has a higher heavy metal load is because it's grown in the plants, in the soil, where the plants are absorbing from the air, which is polluted, from the soil, which is polluted and contaminated from runoff water and all different kinds of things. And then it's being concentrated into this plant protein. And so that's where we see higher levels of contaminants, such as pesticides, BPA, heavy metals, all different kinds of things. And some of the levels can be very concerning when you look at some of the reports where they've done third-party tests looking at the levels. Some of them, it's like just slightly elevated and you have a liver for a reason. And so maybe it's okay. For me, because I'm doing it every single day, I want to make sure that I'm using a product that does not require a health hazard warning. And Shockley's does not. It is incredible. So what are some of the new products? Okay, so Shockley just launched its new Life Shake formula. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes Life Shake special with the added amount of leucine in it. But we are also talking about a revised formula that has 25 essential vitamins and minerals, as well as fiber, omega-3, digestive enzymes, all of the things that your body wants in a meal. It is a nutrient-dense meal, not just a protein powder, which makes it really unique and special. So why does Shockley add leucine? Leucine is one of the 9 essential amino acids. And this is a picture of a presentation of Gabrielle Lyons, who is the protein expert I told you about, showing she was like specifically enamored with Shockley's protein products, specifically Life Shake, because of the added leucine. And she was super impressed that Shockley's science team did their research and found that our body specifically processes and responds with protein synthesis, utilizing that protein to effectively nourish our bodies and our muscles with 2.5 grams of leucine. You can see here in this presentation, this graph, that it like jumps almost straight up at the 2.5 threshold. And that is how much leucine is being added to Shockley's Life Shake and the new protein that I'll show you, because it's ensuring that all of those amino acids are effectively absorbed and utilized by your body. So cool and so special. And validating that our scientists know what they're doing. So here are our scientists, Dr. Erin on the left. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about her. She's an incredible science first, um, just super kind and smart woman. I have so much respect for her. Talking about the clinical studies that have been done on the two new Shockley protein products. So the one on the right is the new Life Shake that they did the testing on, showing that the total BCAAs were absorbed, and inside the person, that blood level that they were testing, they saw 106% increase in the BCAAs that were absorbed, and then they stayed elevated for hours after consumption. That's what you want. That is like avoiding the energy crash. That is ensuring that you have the energy and the power and the stamina that you need beyond just when you consume something right away. And then on the left-hand side, you see that they did the same thing with an even higher increase in the new sparkling protein that I'm going to show you. A little preview, that is rapidly absorbed and elevated as well. Okay, so how much protein do you actually need and are you getting? We've talked about what the goals are, but if you're like, I can't even quantify that. I don't know. I don't know how much I'm getting. This is a typical day for most people. Remember, I told you between 40 and 60 grams. This is actually like a person who might be eating health consciously, making intentional choices. So we're looking at maybe a yogurt, grilled chicken for lunch, salmon for dinner, right? Like we're looking at things where you're like, this feels like healthy choices. Still, 65 grams of protein, nowhere near the 100 grams that we are targeting for ourselves. So if we wanted to up our protein, some of the revised choices that we might make would be to go instead with a hard-boiled egg, some peanut butter with banana on top of an English muffin for breakfast, and adding collagen 9 or Up and Glowing to that coffee. You'll notice I'm telling you to eat and add collagen to the coffee. It's not one or the other. Lunch is still going to be that grilled chicken, but maybe instead of like chips on the side, we're having hummus with veggies. And then as a snack, we're having a Life Shake with milk and berries added. You can also have that as breakfast and then maybe have the hummus as a snack, right? Like however your body is telling you to eat and when to eat. But these little choices add up. We're adding 1 more ounce of grilled salmon and putting it on a salad with some edamame and feta cheese. Edamame is one of my favorite higher protein snacks. I love it. I love to put it on salads. I love to just like eat it when I'm watching TV. And then I'm going to show you some protein-rich dessert option as well. That's a super fun one. Our team gives recipe books when you buy our Life Shake with one of our team members. And that's going to give you 120 grams of protein. So you're exceeding your goals there. I will share these slides to anybody that's registered, so don't feel like you need to like write everything down, but here's just some options of what 30 grams per meal plus 15 grams per snack to help you get to that goal that we were talking about would look like. So a couple of different options based on your needs. And as you can see, it can be done with vegan. It can be done on the go. It takes a little more intention to think through things and not just grab what's right in front of you all the time, but absolutely we can do it. And as I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite ways to get extra protein is to sneak in fish at lunch. So I love to make a tuna salad, and that always helps me hit my protein goals and stay satiated throughout the day. Here is another example of what some of these food-based protein values would be in what is a common amount that we would consume them. So if you're looking for, what's a good option for me, you can see how high the tuna can is, 40 grams. So that's a great option. Greek yogurt is another one that sticks out. That's a great one to add to smoothies or to have as a snack with some fruit, right? And then even vegetables, nuts, and seeds all contain protein. One of the things that's super important and why I show you that nuts and seeds and vegetables all contain protein is because it's not just about protein. Our bodies, and this is where some of the headlines have it right. We can't just only think about protein. We can't just like go around only eating beef jerky and be like, yeah, I'm optimizing my health. No, you also need antioxidants, you need fiber, you need a variety of things for your body to thrive. So yes, we need protein, but that sweet spot of the amount that I gave you will allow plenty of room for all the other things that you need in your life. The key is to have a high variety of not just protein foods, but grains, fats, fruits, vegetables, all the things. One of the things that, oh, that's kind of blurry. Sorry, y'all. One of the things that's super exciting is let me see if yeah, can show you Shaklee's new sparkling protein. So this is coming fully available in the fall, but for right now, the sparkling protein that I showed you that had like double the effective absorption of the Life Shake it's like, I don't know if you've ever had like a stevia lemon lime or maybe like a diet Sprite because there's no sugar in it, but it's lemon lime. It's also like a non-alcoholic margarita. Like it's super refreshing. It would make a great mocktail. It would be great if like, you were out on the tennis court all day playing, pickleball, if you're camping with your family and you're having a hard time getting your protein in, right? Like there's a lot of places that this could be great. My teenage kids are like, oh, they can't wait. They're like ones that are arriving. They all want easy forms of protein. And if it tastes like soda, they're going to be all in. One of the other things that this does, and all effective, nourishing, full scope proteins that's a meal will do for you, is naturally support GLP-1 levels. So you've heard a lot about GLP-1 medications like Ozempic that make you feel fuller longer and reduce your appetite. That is a hormone that your body naturally has. And by increasing your protein levels with the sparkling protein or Life Shake, both of them have been clinically proven to naturally increase your body's own GLP-1, essentially keeping you satiated longer, which we've seen the science of why that works, especially with the added leucine. So the sparkling protein also has leucine added to it. If this is something that you're super excited about and you want to try, that is where this member offer is coming in that you get 1 can to try in this bundle. We also have ambassador join bundles. If you are interested in becoming an ambassador with us, join our team where you can send people to these kinds of educational events, and you can get a case of it. And both of these can be put on loyalty, which means you could get it monthly leading up to the October launch. Okay, I promised you a recipe. This is my little trick to getting enough protein. And oftentimes my body tells me, like my body will crave this and I'll think back throughout the day. I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't get enough protein. Because I really work to strive to meet or exceed that 100 grams of protein. And using Life Shake, you can bake with it. Like you can make cookies with it. You can make pancakes with it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. This mug cake is so good. You're not going to believe it. It's really fantastic. I put a little bit of like whipped cream or Cool Whip on top. It's so great and gives you your 20 additional grams of protein. I can't see. Oh, it says 26 grams of protein. And now my mouse just turned off. That's not going to be good. Um, let's see. Come on, little mouse. What's going on here? Yeah, Cindy's like, the cake is so easy and so good. All right, let's see if I can do it with my keyboard. No, come on. What is going on here? Sorry. Oh my gosh, my mouse just ran out of batteries. This is so embarrassing. What am I doing? Let's see. Those of you who've tried the sparkling protein, can you put in the chat what you thought of it, what you loved about it? While I try to work. Oh, here we go. Connected. Okay, great. Let's hope this stays together. But put it in the chat, like what you thought about that protein.
They
Um,
say getting started is half the battle. Let's
Another
make
bundle.
healthy happen together, one deliciously easy habit at a time. With a Ready Set Wellness Kit, curate your ultimate starter pack with our best nutritional solutions. Get personalized daily supplements with vitamins, minerals, and more to support your body's unique needs. Power through your day with a delicious meal in a glass, packed with nutrients to help you thrive. Then every month, take a boost to enhance your wellness routine.
Okay, so I wanted to show you that is an additional bundle that is available to you if you're interested with the Life Shake, and the collagen would be the booster that I would choose, and it was highlighted there. And it's a fantastic deal, like the amount that you save on it. Um, Teresa is asking what makes um, clear, the sparkling protein clear. It is a whey protein. It is lactose free, and people with a casein allergy had it, or sensitivity had it at conference, and also did not have any issues with it either. So it's whey based. There are other clear proteins out there. There is not one that has leucine added. There's not, that's patented, and there's not one in like a sparkling beverage format. So it's pretty special. I think the closest thing you could compare it to was like the Celsius drinks that have electrolytes, because it's like super energizing, but it doesn't have caffeine. Um, there's another clear protein drink out there, but it's not bubbly. So there's, other things out there, but there's nothing like it on the market. Okay, if you've made it this far, and you are not an ambassador, could you please put in the chat what your favorite takeaway was from today? And I will choose up to 4 people, up to 3 people, to get some prizes sent your way. I love to do draw prizes and giveaways, and thank you for being here. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we can um, chat if you have any additional questions that I did not answer. Oh, okay, I see 2 Q&As. Okay. Cindy asked, any tips for lowering inflammation? So I have two. So let me start with one, which is reduce your caffeine and don't have it first thing in the morning. Start with a nourishing thing like Life Shake. I personally got rid of caffeine entirely, and that was a game changer for me. Um, the second is Vivix. So Vivix is a product that Shockley has patented with the most powerful polyphenols available. It is made out of the skin of muscadine grapes, which are harvested in, I think it's a Georgian, but it's an American farm. They were just throwing their grapes and seeds away after making wine. And Shockley approached them and said, we would like to buy these skins and seeds that you're throwing away, and made this incredible product from it. I have had, because I have multiple autoimmune diseases, I have had chronically high inflammation since I was a child. As I test every year, like it is what it is. For the very first time in my entire life, after taking Shockley for 6 months, I had my annual blood work, and my inflammation was in the normal range for the first time ever, ever. And I am sure that it is from Vivix and from Life Shake. And I also take Meology. I put Vivix in my Meology, which is kind of like that Vitalizer and the Ready Set Wellness. You can do one or the other. Um, but if you're having concerns about inflammation, especially those of us who are entering peri and postmenopause, highly, highly, highly recommend um, doing a Life Shake instead of coffee in the morning, and then adding Vivix. Yes, I was strongest woman in Virginia 2 years in a row. Um, but I no longer am weight training. So those of you who are wanting to kind of slowly and safely build muscle, what I was talking about, working on just like increasing at every meal, making choices to switch your snacks to things that have protein. There's so many options out there, and just being really mindful of the protein choices that you're making and then working towards some sort of um, weight bearing activity. And that can be so many things. It can be Pilates, it can be something you do with YouTube in your home, it can be actual, personal trainer for weight training. It can be so many different things. But you want the combination of those two. At the very beginning, I said there's two ways to build muscle, and you have to kind of do both of those in order to do it. And you're not going to necessarily look like Gabrielle Lyon, who is a, incredibly fit woman, or a CrossFitter, or those people who are doing it as their full-time job, but you can certainly work on building up your own muscles and strength for health and wellness by doing a lot of the things that we talked about. Okay, Molly asks, does the natural boost of GLP-1 and LifeShake help to reduce food noise, or is there another product or vitamin that could support this? Um, it will reduce food noise after you've had it. So I think the difficult thing is getting into a habit to break. So there's these things called neural pathways in your brain, not to super nerd out, that are developed based on habits that you build. And so if you have spent your life avoiding breakfast. So for me, as someone who's always lived in a larger body, I kind of had a lot of shame about my body and my eating habits and convinced myself, oh, I should skip breakfast to reduce my calories to try to lose weight for so long. What that actually did is kind of put my body into a starvation mode and hold on to things from a hormonal level, and to then hit me with a huge amount of food noise, because I finally reached a point where it was starving somewhere between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. every day. And then I wasn't thinking rationally and making good choices. So, what you want to achieve with the reduction of food noise, because even with a GLP-1 medication, the goal is not to stay on it for your whole life if you are not, if you don't need it for type 2 diabetes or something like that, if you're using it for weight loss, the goal isn't to stay on it forever. The goal is to kind of teach yourself new habits and then get off. And so you can teach yourself those habits with foods that are going to naturally boost your own GLP-1, self-regulating your appetite and never getting to that starvation point, and telling yourself, okay, it's been 3 hours since I ate. I need to eat a snack. Like, whether you're feeling hungry or not in that time, and then make a choice for a snack that feels like something you're in control of, that you're driving instead of being driven by what's in front of me right now because I'm ravenously hungry, or what is the choice of something that I've made previously with those uh, brain, sorry, neural pathways. I got I got a text from my kids. Those neural pathways that have like, oh, when I'm super hungry, after dinner, I eat ice cream and that solves the problem. Well, actually, maybe what we need to do is be eating more protein at dinner and be eating earlier in the day, so that our body doesn't want that meal after dinner to meet its nutrient needs. So it's about breaking some of those habits and making sure that you're getting adequate protein, specifically with something like Life Shake, and then fueling yourself consistently. Shockley also has really great meal bars, which are great to have on the go to prevent yourself from getting to that ravenous point. They have like 20 to 30 grams in them, I think. So that's another really great option. Okay, so another question was, does Vivix liquid get better absorbed than the gels? No. All of the forms of Vivix are equally effective if you take them as they have been uh, not prescribed, but as is the recommended consumption way. My problem is that I found when I was doing liquid or gummies that because it felt more of like a treat, like a mocktail, or, oh, I'm going to have these gummies because they're tasty in the afternoon. I was not consistent with them. And now that I've seen the incredible improvement that Vivix made on my inflammation, I treat it like medicine. So I put it in my daily meology because I don't want to miss a dose. And that all of the forms, however, if you're taking them consistently as they are recommended, will be just as effective. And yes, as Molly says, you can switch up the forms each month in your loyalty order. Um, I showed you bundles, but you can also just piecemeal individual things into your loyalty order. And, if you're like, oh, I still have Life Shake from last month, I'll get something else this month. Like you don't have to get the same exact thing every month. You just need to be meeting those minimums consistently. Sarah is asking, is there a list anywhere that provides the protein options that are dairy free? I don't know that I have a list that is dairy free, but I do know that on every single product page, they note it. And the bars are dairy free except the white chocolate one. Right? Like it would kind of logically, like, I know if you're a dairy free person, you're like, oh, warning, most white chocolate is not dairy free. Um, so definitely look into that. And I know both the plant and the soy Life Shake are dairy free as well. Okay, I think I've answered the questions. Okay, Amanda has a question. I've always been told that our body and muscle uses animal sources, including whey, more efficiently than plant proteins. Any thought on that? So that might be the case because plant proteins, just like collagen, might not have all nine of the essential amino acids, whereas animal sources do. And so that's why utilizing plant or collagen options that are making sure that they have all nine of them. And that's why Shockley is adding that 2.5 grams of leucine, is ensuring that they are efficiently used. And the other thing that I would say is that some of these places that say that as a marketing tool are probably not doing the efficacy clinical studies that Shockley is doing to show that those amino acids are being absorbed and maintained in your body for hours after. It's kind of like a talk track. And it's probably true when looking at most um, options, but that's not to say that um, I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay. Well, it has been wonderful to connect to you all. Thank you so much for talking in the chat and asking questions and making this a little more fun than it would be to do all by myself. I hope that it was helpful. I would love if you have any more questions or follow up that you want to see or learn about, please let me know. And thank you so much for coming. Bye, everyone.